So I was reading a book lately called Pragmatic Programmer, where they laid out this concept of growing your knowledge portfolio, right? Just like we have investment portfolios that we want to grow for our finances, we should also have a knowledge portfolio that we could grow over time and that would compound and grow into something really great. And what I've realized after reading about this concept is that it applies so well in our spatial computing journeys. This is a great example of a field where growing your knowledge portfolio can reap you great rewards. So that's what this video is about. It's essentially looking at our knowledge portfolio like we do our investment portfolios and how we could apply the strategies from the investment stuff to our knowledge. So the first principle is to buy low and sell high. If you watch any famous investor or follow mainstream investment advice, this is one of the fundamental concepts, right? To buy low and sell high. For example, if you're buying a stock, you want to buy the stock when it crashes and you want to sell the stock when it's at its peak, right? That's how you make cash with stocks. Similar thing with real estate. When it comes to a knowledge portfolio, this principle applies too because it's always good to buy a skill set low and sell it high. By buy, I mean to learn a skill set that's undervalued today and that has great potential to grow for the future. So you're learning low and selling high, if that makes sense. But you get the point, right? And a great example of the skill set is learning spatial computing, or more specifically, visionOS development. It's an undervalued skill set today, at least relatively speaking. In the near future, I believe this technology would go mainstream. And what that means is there will come a point in time where demand will be high and supply low. That's exactly the time you could sell your skill set high, whether it's to an employer for a job or for making your own products. So that's a very good example of buying low and selling high. You're buying low by learning it today when it's relatively undervalued, and you could reap the benefits and sell it high in the near to midterm future when the technology goes mainstream. So that's how I thought this concept from finance really applies well in the knowledge portfolio concept here. So buying a skill set low and selling high. The second one, again, popular mainstream investment advice, is to diversify, right? So for example, when you buy stocks, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to spread them across, right? To put it more concretely, when you buy a stock, you don't want to put all your money on Amazon stocks. You want to spread it across different stocks, or ideally buy something like the index funds, which defaults as a share of all the valuable companies in the US. So that's all examples of diversification, right? It's popular investment advice to diversify. It may not have as high rewards, but it definitely minimizes risk by spreading it across different companies. For example, if one company does bad, you still have others to rely on, stuff like that. So that's diversification. Now, how does this apply to the knowledge portfolio concept? It's again very simple. This principle applies, but in a more subtle way. Obviously, if you follow the principle one-to-one, you would think that I'm about to say, to learn all technologies, all frameworks, all tools that you know of, AI, IoT, AR, VR, everything, so that you could reap rewards in all areas, right? But if you have common sense, you'll realize that's just not feasible, because unlike money at hand, time is limited, especially when you have a day job, right? So you can't spend your time learning effectively every single thing on planet Earth. So how does this principle apply here? And I think it's a more subtle way. And when I think about it, I feel like it's diversification within a niche in a way that you minimize risk. What do I mean? A great example is, again, learning visionOS development, right? So if you want to build truly powerful visionOS apps, there's no way around. You would need to learn iOS development, because those fundamentals are used and needed to build a good visionOS app. So what that means is, when you learn how to build visionOS development, you would pick up skills that you need for iOS development as well, right? So by learning visionOS development, relatively higher risk, higher reward skill set for the future, by default, you would also be gathering skill set that's valuable today in the marketplace. iOS developers are in high demand, we all know that. So by default, learning the skill set gives you a diversified skill set in a strange way, right? You get the best of both worlds. In case this fails, you have this to fall back on, and I think there's a high probability that Vision Pro would succeed and go mainstream. When that happens, this skill set, visionOS, would be highly valuable. So you got a high reward skill set, but in case that fails, you got something to fall back on. That's really diversification in practice. Again, when I was reading it, I saw clear parallels here. Diversification in finance, buying different stocks. Here we are already diversified by naturally learning the skill. Now, the third principle is very near and dear to my heart because I've been practicing it for a long time without even being aware of it. And that principle is to invest regularly. Again, mainstream finance advice, right? When you buy stocks, the way to grow wealthy over it is to invest small amounts over a long period of time. And when you do that, it compounds to bigger amounts over decades. To invest regularly is key, but not just that, to invest regularly over a long period of time, over decades, That's what makes you wealthy, simply because of the law of compounding. Simply put, compounding, if you want to picture it, think of a snowball flowing down a mountain. The more it flows down, the more it picks up momentum, the more it grows in size, and the more it becomes powerful. And by the time it's down, it has this full force exerted, right? That's exactly how compounding works. It grows exponentially over time, slowly in the beginning, but exponentially towards the last few years. And when it comes to a knowledge portfolio, again, like I said, this is a principle that I've applied unknowingly for a very, very long time. So it all started in my PhD when I started side projects. During my PhD, I was building stress lists, a set of games for stress relief. I've done it on the side. Then when I got an iOS developer job, I've been building Reality Uni and my YouTube channel on the side with courses, books, now a visionOS app that I'm building, and these YouTube videos. It's all examples of stuff done on the side when I had something on the main. And the concept really applies well here, because what I've done, what I've seen work really, really well is to invest small amounts of time daily. And when you do that over a long period of time, things compound and things pick up momentum. Trust me, because I've been doing that. That's how you get stuff done. I can't remember the exact maths, but I remember doing it a long time ago. If you spend about 1 to 2 hours a day and about 3 to 4 hours on the weekends, over a year, that amounts to 4 months of full-time work. Again, I repeat, 1 to 2 hours a day and 3 to 4 hours on the weekend. If you do the math, over a long period of time, over a year, it amounts to 4 months of full-time work. The maths may not be exact, but if you do the numbers, you'll see you can get a lot of stuff done when you invest small amounts of time regularly over a long period. And when you add not just 1 year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you can see where I'm going with this, right? Things compound. So for example, on my YouTube channel, the videos I made like 3 years ago is driving traffic to my courses that I'm selling today. And now the visionOS app that I'm building today, I hope that in the near future it will pick up momentum. And the users coming through that will also start wondering, okay, this is a good visionOS app. How did he make it? Oh, great. Look, he has educational products on how to build visionOS apps. They're going to see that, and they're going to check out my YouTube channel with all the 86 videos with all the educational content here. You can see how compounding works, right? It's not just all one thing I did in a few weeks' time. It's all stuff that's been compounding for 3+ years. So I think this is a very, very powerful concept when growing your knowledge portfolio. So simply put, when you're starting your journey, what I would highly suggest is to invest small amounts of time over a long period of time consistently. And simply put, I would suggest 1 to 2 hours a day and a few more hours on the weekends, and just keep doing that for a long period of time. Think in years, not months. And trust me, you will get stuff done and you will have products to show for. So that's the way here, from my own personal experience at least. Now, the last and the final principle from the finance world that really applies well to the knowledge world is the knowledge of generating cash flow, right? A great example from finance is real estate. If you bought a house and you put it in a certain location, you generate a good amount of your income comes from the rent you generate from that, right? So if you don't rent out, it's stupid. You're wasting money on the line. You're just letting appreciation work and not generating cash flow. So that's an example of cash flow. When you buy a house, if you don't rent it out, yes, it will go in value, but you're missing out on the passive income that you could generate out of rent. So how does this apply to a knowledge portfolio? It applies really well, I believe. For example, if you just keep building up your knowledge over time and do nothing with it, you really create no value in the world, right? Yes, it will appreciate it. It will give you nice thoughts and great things to do over a long period of time, but you need to do something with it. And ideally, you want to make a living out of it. You want to buy things like time freedom and other stuff with it. In other words, you need to generate cash flow with your knowledge. This is exactly what I did with my own learning journey a long time back. While I was learning, I monetized my learnings. How? Well, when I was learning iOS development, as soon as I had the enough skill set to build a decent iOS app, I took a part-time iOS job. I got some money from it. Then I moved on to freelance work on Upwork. I started doing iOS dev work there in the AR niche, and that generated me cash flow. Again, these experiences, these part-time work gave me not only the skill set and build upon my skill set, but also gave me some cash flow. I was generating cash flow out of my knowledge. Eventually, I took up a mobile software engineering job, again, generating cash flow out of this knowledge, a consistent source of income now. And now, on the side, I'm building Reality Uni and visionOS apps and educational products around it, again, giving me an additional source of income on top of all this. Again, these are all examples of not just compounding the knowledge for compounding's sake, but while it's compounding, generating cash flow in the meantime and not in the far off future. So this is how I've personally applied this concept of generating cash flow while you're growing your portfolio. To simply put, while you're learning, you can monetize your learning by doing freelance gigs and stuff, because these stuff not only give you the knowledge and experiences that you could show to your future employer, or that you could leverage to build your own apps, but these stuff would also give you the cash flow, which is always nice. It won't be a huge amount, but it's always good to monetize your learning journey and not just the end. So these were the concepts. They were fascinating to see parallels between the finance world and the knowledge world, and I believe it applies even more beautifully in the spatial world, where the spatial era has just begun, and applying these principles, I believe, would really give you an unfair advantage going forward. So I hope you found this useful, and I wish you all the best with your journey, and I speak to you soon.